Hey guys, I am back with another World of Kings video, and today we are going to be talking about the strongest classes, in my opinion, in 2.0. Remember, again, when I make these videos, these are my opinions, this is my point of view of what I've experienced while playing 2.0. If you guys have a different opinion, let me know in the comments below. But before I get into this video, I have some gift codes to give away, and I really want to give away to you guys. So if you want a gift code, there will be 3 ways to get them. The best way will be to go to my Instagram. I'll pop it right here. Follow me on Instagram and send me a DM and be like, hey Spid, I watch your videos. Can I get a gift code? And I will send it to you. The other way you can get it is you can follow me on Twitter. I'll post it right here. Alright, you follow me on Twitter, you DM me there, hey Spid, can I get a gift code? And when you get the gift code, you go into the game, you go to the settings, you type in gift code, and you should be able to get some crowns, some diamonds, and some gems. So I want to thank you guys so much for watching, of course. So that's why I want to be able to give you guys some stuff back too. Now, let's get into this video. And I wanted to start with the range DPS. So as you guys know, I usually split the DPS up with range first, and then we'll talk about melee, because let's be real, it's like completely different. Some people just prefer melee DPS, some people just prefer range DPS. So let's talk about the range DPS. And my top 1 range DPS from 2.0 is the Necromancer. The Necromancer got a huge buff, and the reason the Necromancer, even if some of the DPS might top it in DPS charts, it will always be probably top 3 DPS every single time. And it is way more important than the other classes, because when they introduce, sorry, this game music is a little bit too loud. So the reason I choose the Necromancer as number 1 is they introduced something. I mean, it used to be before something called slant, but after 2.0, slant damage has become way more important. And the thing with Necromancer is that Necromancer barely does any slant. What does slant mean? It means if you enter any overlords or any hero dungeons, anything that is higher gear level than you are, so let's say you enter a 200 gear level dungeon and you're 198 gear level and 199 gear level, you will slant, or anything less, you will slant, unless you're a Necromancer. Then you'll be able to do a lot of DPS. Now, with all these overlords coming out, all these hero dungeons coming out, you're usually below the slant gear level required, right? So being a Necromancer is very helpful, especially for new players and older players when they start introducing the harder overlords and heroes again, to be a Necromancer, because you will not be slanting and you'll be topping the DPS charts, because you have something called a dot, damage over time. So if you have damage over time, it ignores the slant, so you get full DPS. And I watched future videos, it doesn't seem like they're doing anything with the slant. So again, my Necromancer is top 1 in my opinion for the range DPS. Now, also, which I want to put next to the Necromancer in top 1 is the Frost Whisperer. Frost Whisperer is still super strong in PvP, super strong in PvE. This class can unfortunately not ignore slant damage, but it still deals a lot of damage when it has the same gear level, and it will out DPS the Necromancer most of the times. But the only reason I'm giving the Necromancer the edge is because of the slant damage. However, Frost Whisperer is more like direct damage and does a lot of DPS, while the Necromancer, it builds up his damage. So it's the longer the fight lasts, the better the Necromancer will do. But Frost Whisperer will do a lot of damage off the start and till the end of the fight, while Necromancer build it up. So that's my top 1 DPS for range DPS. However, I want to add the Arcane Scholar also in the top 1. The reason I add the Arcane Scholar is it doesn't do as much DPS as the other classes, of course, but it's a very good support class, and it buffs the teammates a lot. So it's a very good support class. So if you know that you cannot invest so much time in the game, you cannot be the top DPS, I will highly suggest you go Arcane Scholar. The Time Ward skill that they buffed is 20 meters now, and it literally buffs the haste by 50%, mana regen by 500%, so everybody, your allies, can just spam their skills like crazy. Well, in this, it's really helpful, and you get like speed boosts and stuff. So I'll put the Arcane Scholar and top 1 also, but just because it's a very strong support class. Now, let's go to number 2. The number 2 range DPS, in my opinion, is the Flame Singer. The reason is, once you're end game, the Flameslinger really a lot of its skill depends on how high crit you have. So if you have a high crit, Flameslinger is the way to go, and the Flameslinger has dot also. But again, Flameslinger is also a class that builds damage over time, but once it has built damage over time, it will deal a lot of damage. One of our top DPS in our guild are Flameslingers, and they deal insane amount of DPS. So the Flameslinger is definitely my top 2 range DPS. Now, let's go to number 3. Number 3 will be, we have to get out. Can I get out of here? Yeah. Number 3 will be the Demon Hunter and the Marksman. The reason is, after the patch, the Demon Hunter got a little buff. However, the Demon Hunter, if you like to learn more of your rotation and so on, the Demon Hunter can be really good. And the Demon Hunter mostly uses like 3 skills, so you don't have to level up the other skills at all, or 4 skills. So that's really helpful, and it does a lot of damage, and is really strong in PvP. But also, the Marksman is also almost just as good. However, the Marksman takes a little less skills. It's mostly like 1 or 2 skills that you're going to be using, and it will deal a lot of damage. However, Marksman and Demon Hunters do not have any dot skills, so but they deal a lot of damage. And lately, I haven't seen so many Marksman and Demon Hunters around, but it's in my top 3 list. Now, let's go back to top 4 list of range DPS. Will be the Crystal Shaper, does a good amount of DPS, good range DPS. Not much more I can say about it. Well, you know, once you get down to the top 4 lower leagues, it's not too much you can say about it. They do good DPS, good looks cool, I guess, but they do get a good amount of damage. But not as good as the other classes, unfortunately. You have the Chaos of Warlock, top 4 list, range DPS. Unfortunately, even though it has a lot of things alike with the Necromancer, it just does not do as much damage as the Necro. And that's because of their Doom skill, I think. That of Doom is just super strong. But the Chaos Warlock's top 4 DPS. And then last but not least is the Fire Frost. You know, once you put like ice and fire together, it can never be that good. You know, it's either you go full ice or you go full fire. But the Fire Frost, again, it does good damage. It's a little bit more tanky. But again, guys, in the end, it comes to how you're gearing your character. You can have a Fire Frost and you can gear the Fire Frost correctly. It will probably do more damage than your Frost Whisper if that's not geared correctly. But if you are fully geared, perfectly, that will be my top 5 list on the range DPS. Now let's move on to the melee DPS. The melee top uno for me would be the Blade Master. The Blade Master does a lot of damage, and it has dot damage, which means it won't slant as much as the other classes. Again, this is so important now. How the game is going is slant damage is a big yikes, so you want to try to be a class that can do like a damage over time. So definitely Blade Master is my number 1 DPS for melee classes, and then number 2 will be straight up the Weapon Master. Weapon Master will out DPS the Blade Master, okay? Just so you guys know, the Weapon Master will out DPS equally geared Blade Master. If there's no dot, if you're in a raid, you all have same gear, etc., the Weapon Master will out DPS the Blade Master, but the Blade Master takes the edge because of the damage over time. That's how OP and strong it is to have, or important it is to have damage over time. But the Weapon Master has always been, since day 1, super strong. When the boss gets under 20%, it just destroys and tops the DPS charts. Every single time we run raids with Weapon Master, they're topping the DPS chart, unless the bosses are very non-melee friendly. And then recently it's been a lot of bosses that's non-melee friendly. So again, but right now we're talking about melee. So top 2, just because Weapon Master would be top 1 if it wasn't for the damage over time from the Blade Master. So Weapon Master number 2. Number 3 would be the Inquisitor. No, there's not many Inquisitors around because, let's be real, nobody want to play a Paladin DPS. But the Inquisitor, it got a little buff. It used to be depending on a lot of RNG, but it's gotten better. It does a lot of damage. It's super strong, and it's been super strong for a long time. But again, it's very, not many people play it, but it's definitely worth the shot if you guys want to check it out. It does good amount of DPS. Now, my number 3 with the Inquisitor would be the Spellblade. The Spellblade does super good DPS. It has a little range DPS, which is super nice with the Spellblade because they can be a little bit range and they get DPS from range and they can go close. So if the boss requires some melees to run away, they can keep DPSing because there were some range attacks. And again, Spellblade has been super strong since start of the game. A very strong class, highly suggested. And again, Spellblades and all these assassins are super strong in PvP also, but I'm mostly going to be focusing on the PvE aspect right now. Now that will be the Spellblade. Now let's move on to number 4. Will be the Shadow Dancer. Not as strong as the Blade Master and Spellblade, unfortunately, but it is an assassin and it can still do good amount of DPS. But I will rank it lower on the board, unfortunately. And then we have last the Berserker. If you are a fighter, I will highly suggest you guys to go Weapon Master, 100%. Berserker is okay. That's all I can say about it. It can do DPS, of course, if you gear it right, but the Weapon Master is just better, unfortunately. That is not, like, usually this game is very balanced, but the balance between the Weapon Master and Berserker is not much, okay? Berserker is in the bottom of my list with the Gladiator, so these will be the last melee DPS on the bottom of my list. So that was the melee, and that was the range DPS. I think I didn't miss any DPS. If I did, I'm sorry, okay? You guys weren't relevant enough for me to remember. No, I'm pretty sure I went through all of them. So now, let's move out to healers, okay? This will be healer subject. Which healer is the strongest in 2.0? It is the Bard. The Bard is too good, okay? The reason why the Bard is good is because all of the healers require you to DPS the boss to be able to heal. Right? Bard can heal without DPSing the boss. It has insane amount of heals, insane amount of reductions, insane amount of damage buff that you can give the team. It's overall just super good. It can deal a little bit of DPS, but it's just super good to heal. It is kind of a melee healer, so you have to stay around the Bard, but a good Bard will always position itself that it can heal everybody. The Bard is the top Uno healer by far. I love Bards in my team. Makes my life way more easier, makes the DPS life way more easier, and it has like this spell every 12 seconds if you get like seed and stuff. It's just a very good healer. So top 1 healer, Bard. However, Vampire is also the top 1 healer with the Bard. The reason why is the Vampire, again, it can do a good amount of healing. It has, if it's about to die, it can go like immune for a second. Also, its damage buff is ridiculous. Let's see if I can find it. Which one? Let me see. This one. Gives like an insane amount of shields, but it has a buff which is insane. I can't find it right now. 50% increases that. Here it is. Okay, this skill, Siphon Soul, alright, increases damage bonus by 10%, critical rate by 10%, haste ratio by 10%, critical damage by 30% for 30 seconds. That is insane. That is insane. This buff is the strongest buff out of all of them. And it's super good for, like, you know how when you do Overlords, the most annoying thing are the ads, right? Ads take forever. The Vampire has insane amount of ad damage. It's definitely my top. I love so my top 1 healer that I would like in my team is the Vampire and the Bard. That's my number 1. My number 2 healers that would I like in my team is the Lightbringer. Now the Lightbringer it's always been super good, super strong, does insane amount of DPS. No healer can match the Lightbringer's DPS. It's just out of the world, does good amount of healing, but it just does not have the reductions and so on that the Bards and the Vampires have, or the damage buff. It gives a little bit of damage buff, but not as strong. However, it does a lot of damage to make up for the buff it doesn't get. So Lightbringer number 2. You know my healer is Jen Xia, so I always mostly run with Jen. So Lightbringer top, she does insane amount of DPS. So definitely, if you're a Lightbringer, you don't do much DPS, you might want to think about switching to Bard. However, now also my number 2 with the Lightbringer is the Archon. Archon will always be a good healer, super good melee healer. You have to be close range to heal, but it throws banners that gives insane amount of reductions, insane amount of healing. an insane amount of buffs. Archon will forever be a good healer. I almost forgot the Archon last time, but the Archon is very good, and especially if you're running like big raids and stuff, you definitely want to have an Archon in there. It can be super nice, super. It gives cinema reductions again. It's just a very good healing class. Now the last two will be the Saint. Saint is also a nice healer. It can also heal without attacking the boss, which is a big plus these days because you need to attack the most of the healers have to attack the boss to deal healing. Saint can do it alone. Also, when it dies, it has this resurrection thing where it can heal while it's dead. So that is also very nice. And then the last is the Exarch. Not much I can say about the Exarch. Just don't choose Exarch basically. Now that was the healers. Now we'll go into the tanks, and by far, I've said it since day one, honestly, but they gave the battle mage even more of a buff. So now the battle mage is just ridiculous. Like, let me just tell you guys real quick, okay? All the other classes I've talked about, there may be like this much of a gap between them, right? A small gap. However, the tanks, when you come to the battle mage is up here, right? Bam, all right? The next tank is down here. And then the rest of the tanks go like duk 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 duk. But there's so much big difference between the battle mage and the other tanks. It's not even funny. All right, the battle mage is super tanky, insane amount of mitigation. It can like pull everything it wants, grouping up ads if it wants, super stun, everything. Man, a battle mage is like off the charts right now. It's not even funny. The battle mage is #1 tank by far. And it has like range capabilities because it is a mage. So that battle mage, I don't even know why they buffed the battle mage. Didn't need it. It's already super broken in PvP, and now they've even buffed it in PvE. It's like insane. Like, you guys can be tanking overlords that is not even close to your gear level because you're a battle mage. Like, that's how much how tanky you are. And how much mitigation you have. All the other tanks struggle like, as a dragon rider myself, I struggle when I do harder like raids and overlords and stuff. I struggle keeping aggro from my DPS because I'm slanting, right? Battle mage doesn't have the problem. All their skills are mitigation skills basically. Like, it's crazy. The battle mage by far #1 PvP wise, far #1 tank. Everything is #1. All right, it's just broken. Now that's the battle mage #1, and then we go down to #2. Yeah, the Templar. The Templar, very super strong now. They gave the Templar a super buff, and the skill that when he dies, that you can still heal it back up. It's super strong, like the cheat death or whatever you want to call it. Super strong, very good. It can heal. It can protect the allies when they get low. It has a lot of healing capabilities. I've talked a lot about Templar. I used to play Templar in the early start of the game. Templar is definitely the second best tank. Also, surprise, the Vanguard. The Vanguard is also a very good tank, super tanky, and I will highly, honestly, if you guys don't like the Paladin and don't like the Battle Mage, I would suggest you go Vanguard. It's very strong, got a good amount of like balance between their HP and defense. It's not fully focused on defense like the Battle Mage. It has like a little bit of balance. It's a very nice class. I like it, and I think it has cheat death if I'm not wrong. So that was the top two so the top 1 is Battle Mage, top 2 is the Templar and the Vanguard, and then top 3 is my class, my baby, the Dragon Rider. Okay, Dragon Rider will always be more focused on the DPS than tankiness. It has good amount of CC. I like playing the Dragon Rider. I have dragons and stuff. You know, we out here. If I could choose, I might switch to Battle Mage in the future if I get the option to. But Dragon Rider is still good. But you have to gear it correctly because the Dragon Rider is squishy. Okay, it's squishy man. However, it has a nice ability to put like a little bit of reduction for your allies and stuff. But you will have to have a team that understand how it is playing with the Dragon Rider. But it's not as tanky. It's not as healthy. It doesn't have good mitigation. But I will still put it in top 3 because I play a Dragon Rider. Okay, the top 3, and the last but not least is the Guardian. The Guardian is it's super tanky, but that's about all it has going for itself. It doesn't have anything more. Not much mobility on it. Not too many stuns. Not any much damage. It's just It's just Guardian, you know? But that's it. That's all. So let's go through it quickly. Number 1, range DPS. No, number 1 total DPS is the Necromancer, and it's the Frost Whisperer. And it is the Arcane Scholar for being a support class. And it is the Blade Master. That's my top 1 DPS. Top 2 DPS is the Flame Singer. It's the Weapon Master. Top 3 is the Spellblade. It's the Marksman. It's the Demon Hunter. And it's the Inquisitor. I'm not gonna mention the last ones because top 3 is all that matters. I'm just kidding. You can just watch the video. Top 1 healer. It's the Bard. It's the Vampire. Top 2 healer is the Lightbringer. And it is the Archon. Tank, by far, Battle Mage, go Battle Mage or bust. Alright, there's nothing else I can say. Battle Mage, Battle Mage, Battle Mage. Not even worth mentioning the others. But I hope you guys enjoyed. I know this was a lot requested by a lot of people. This was my opinion, guys, okay? My opinion on the top classes. And you guys know that I do all the hard content of this game. I usually play with every single type of class. We have every single of these classes in my guild, man. We have Necromancers, Flame Singers, all these classes. So I play with all of them. So my opinion is, I would say, valid. However, if you guys have a different opinion, let me know in the comments below. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't. And I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.